11th birthday, and she explains how, so what does she explain? She explains how people grow older, how people get older. I like grow older better. How people grow older. So again, keep in mind, and we'll do this when we do like the next kind of final version of this, right? But this eventually is all going to be one sentence. So in the beginning of the story, it is Rachel's 11th birthday, and she explains how people grow older. Cool. I don't really have a where here, right? I have it's the beginning of the story. That's when. I have what. It's Rachel's 11th birthday. I have who. We're talking about Rachel. I'm kind of missing when, but I don't really see how I could include that for this one. So I'm going to leave it like this. Okay, so now I need to find my quote. So do I want to say, for example, specifically, or something else? I'm going to go with, I like for example. So I'm going to delete these other ones. So now I'm up to my evidence. This is where I'm going to use my quote from the story to prove my point. So I'm going to say, for example, and so keep in mind, right, Cisneros is the writer. So whenever I'm just like quoting something that's not someone talking in the story, it would be Cisneros writes. If I'm quoting something that's like something Rachel says or Rachel thinks, right, that's the character thinking, the character saying. So that's where you want to think about what goes on this blank. I'm going to say Cisneros writes because this isn't something that Rachel doesn't say this, right? It's just something that's written in the story. So I'm going to say Cisneros writes. And now this is the part where I have to put my quote. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll delete this. So I'm going to go back to my story, which I have here. And I am going to copy my quote. And then I'm going to paste it right here. Because Cisneros writes, the way you grow old is kind of like an onion, or like the rings inside a tree trunk, or like my little wooden dolls that fit one inside the other each year inside the next one. Okay, so now some important stuff about citations. So you're going to notice this is already formatted correctly for you here with a period at the end. That's how you do citations. So that means I have to delete this extra period right here. We'll talk a bit more about MLA formatting next class, but citations are a really important part of that. So after I put a quote, I need to put the author's last name, which is Cisneros. And then I have to put a space and the page my quote came from. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to say, all right, that's on page 1. All right, so now I've got my evidence done. For example, Cisneros writes, my quote, my citation. Beautiful. Okay, so now I have to do my analysis. This is the hard part. This is the part you really got to use that brain for. Explain how your evidence proves your topic sentence. So this shows that this quote proves that, let's see here. What do I want to say? Okay, so I'm going to go with this quote shows. So I'm going to delete these because I'm thinking about what I already wrote here, right? So like this quote shows that, right, as people get older, the younger parts of who you are still inside you. So I kind of want to use those same ideas I already have here. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say this quote shows that, like similar to the rings of a tree or the layers of an onion, like as a person gets older, the younger parts of themselves, their self. I'm not sure about my grammar. I'll type it this way and then I'll fix it. Themself is still inside them. Okay, so I see, so Grammarly I've got installed here, so it's going to have some suggestions for me. So let me see what Grammarly says I need to fix. Of a person. Okay, so let me read this and see if it sounds right. Similar to the rings, okay, so this shows that similar to the rings of a tree or the layers of an onion, as a person gets older, the younger parts of themselves is still inside them. Ooh, I don't love how that sounds. I'm going to keep going. This doesn't sound perfect to me, but I'm going to have time to revise it later. I'm not going to stress about the fact that it sounds a little clunky. I think my grammar seems like it might be kind of off there. Okay, so now I have to talk about Rachel's emotions, right? So first I talked about what the simile is explaining, right? That the simile shows that the younger part of a person is still inside of themselves. So how does that show what Rachel is feeling? So it's super important that I explain that because I didn't explain that yet here. So I'm going to use furthermore because I think that sounds fancy. Furthermore, oopsies, that's okay. Okay, furthermore, I'm going to say, furthermore, this shows that Rachel is feeling younger than her actual age. And I still haven't explained, right? I still haven't explained how this shows Rachel's feeling weak and powerless. So I think I have to add another sentence here. Or maybe I can make the sentence longer. Furthermore, this shows Rachel is feeling younger than her actual age. I'm going to add a comma, and I'm going to say, and usually young children are weak and powerless. Therefore, it is clear. You know what? I'm already going to say therefore, but guess what? That's what I put that in my concluding sentence, right? So I'm not going to say that here. Let me reread my analysis and see how that sounds. Okay. So this shows that similar to the rings of a tree or the layers of an onion, as a person gets older, the younger parts of themselves I think this should be are, not is, and that's why, are still inside them. Furthermore, this shows Rachel is feeling younger than her actual age, and usually young children are weak and powerless. Therefore, the reader can conclude that in this moment, Rachel is feeling weak and powerless. Okay. Okay, so again, install Grammarly. See, I'm a professional English teacher person, and I still love these Grammarly suggestions. Make sure you've got it installed. All right, now I'm going to read through my paragraph one last time. Make sure you're typing this into your example as we go. So my topic sentence, in the short story 11 by Sandra Cisneros, it is apparent that Rachel is feeling weak and powerless because the simile demonstrates that Rachel is feeling younger than she is. In the beginning of the story, it is Rachel's 11th birthday, and she explains how people grow older. For example, Cisneros writes, because the way you grow old is kind of like an onion, or like the rings inside a tree trunk, or like my little wooden dolls that fit one inside the other, each year inside the next one. Cisneros 1. This shows that, similar to the rings of a tree or the layers of an onion, as a person gets older, the younger parts of themselves are still inside them. Furthermore, this shows that Rachel is feeling younger than her actual age, and usually young children are weak and powerless. Therefore, the reader can conclude that at this moment, Rachel is feeling weak and powerless. Whew, all right, I like the sound of that. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm done with this.